Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I have a little bit of a news roundup for you with the patch date being released finally. That seemed like a nice header for a little bit of a news dump here. As always, I just do a couple things in like a news roundup type video. Usually three, in this case it's going to be three as well. I'm going to talk about the patch release date, what implications of that. I'm going to talk about the reputation changes for zereth mortis, the 9.2 zone, and I'm going to mention a little bit of rep paladin stuff because that's a big part of this channel, frankly. Let's go ahead and talk about the release. The patch release date is February 22nd. So this is the date that I've been predicting for months and months and months. A lot of people, not a lot, but some people have been predicting the same exact date, and there's many reasons for that. Number one, it's just very close to the date that they would normally release a patch from 9.1.5. Despite this expansion being extremely slow moving or whatever, on average, people go back to Legion because Legion had really fast release cycles during it. But on average, this would be like the average release time for a new patch. So it's right in there within a week or so, I believe. I'd have to look at the numbers again. And there's people that have these numbers and put them out, but people for whatever reason don't really like to look at them. And so they either say, "Oh, it's going to come out way earlier than it's going to come out," or "It's going to come out next year," or whatever. You know, people being a little bit hyperbolic with it when the information is kind of there for you to look at. The other reason is there is a book coming out about Sylvanas that's probably going to have kind of her end story in it. And that comes out on the 22nd too, I believe, or like the early pre-order or something for it does, something like that. And so they would want you to be able to access it in game if you're going to be doing it, if you're going to be able to read it in a book or whatever. Now, if it is the 22nd indeed when it comes out, I thought I saw somebody saying it got moved to March, and if that's the case, it probably comes out with when the campaign chapter ends, and they do coordinate those things so that way there's not a huge spoiler to their story. Even though a lot of people don't like the story nowadays, they do care about it. It's just not necessarily going the way that some of the fan base would like it to go. So yeah, other implications of this. We have the possibility, although not likely, that we would get the next expansion by the end of the year. Again, I'm not saying that's likely. We would be talking about a November or December release for a new expansion. It's more likely that they would do like not another full year, because they do like to release around the holidays, but perhaps like a summer release or something like that, whenever the next big time is that people are gaming a lot. I know they do like a Steam summer sale and stuff like that, so maybe there's some summer months in there that are pretty hot for gaming. So that would be the next candidate. But sometime in there, we're probably going to have the next expansion release. I imagine that they're already working hard on that since they kind of scrapped Shadowlands a bit early. So that's some stuff to look forward to as well. I would not make a prediction on this yet. I'd have to look at some more stuff to see how long, or like what's the quickest it's ever been from the final patch to a expansion. I also know that they're planning on doing a 9.2.5, so that's going to be months after the initial patch as well. So how much is that? The fact that they're adding more content, even if it's small, to the game, how much does that slow them down from expansion? If I had to guess, I would say early or mid 2023. But I would definitely not rule out a November or December release, depending on how much they've been working on it. So that's what I want to mention about the release date. Now let's talk a little bit about the reputation. I got to make sure I'm a little bit quick on this because I tried to do a whole video about reputation for a while, and I was rambling on and on, even for me. I know I'm a bit of a rambler, get sidetracked, but I was just rambling too much, so I just kind of scrapped the idea. I didn't want like a 15-minute video on reputation where I'm just like citing different examples and everything like that. And maybe some people would find that interesting, but it seemed too much to me. So anyway, the reputation has been changed once again for Zereth Mortis. So the whole issue was you had to get reputation to unlock the legendary. People were very double legendary, and people were very angry about that. So they nerfed that to campaign story to unlock it. And then they changed like reputation needs in other ways. And then they once again changed it to make it so where, for whatever reason, if you wanted a lot of reputation, you would need to grind out rares in the new zone in Zereth Mortis, you have to grind out rares for that, and that's very time consuming, and the time consuming to, reward is very low there. So they changed that once again to, have it more reflected by doing like weekly type stuff, like a world boss, for example, and the weekly quests and stuff like that. So your reputation gains will be more based on, playing the game, at least once a week instead of playing it and not just playing it, but like doing chores, right? That's what people kind of are against. So you shouldn't feel like you're as pushed to do chores in this patch as you would in, at least recent patches. So that's good. That's a good change overall that they would do that. It's a compromise. It's not exactly what people wanted, but it is a compromise. And I think it's a pretty good one overall. I think they're learning that, and hopefully we see that continue to get better. As far as when it comes to the reputations that are not like for fun or cosmetic or whatever, like I'll give one example before I move on. The Timber Maw reputation. You did not have to get exalted with the Timber Maw in Vanilla WoW. However, I chose to do it because it was fun. I got a Timber Maw trinket. I still have it on my warrior. I just thought it was cool, so I did it, and it was cool, and I had fun doing it. But it was completely my choice. My character didn't get noticeably powerful from doing it, or nothing was locked behind it. Really, for the most part, I just enjoyed doing it. So, I, I think that's kind of the route they should go. There should still be grinds for reputation, but not the ones that have like power or access to the game behind them. By access to the game, I mean like a double legendary. That's a significant system to the game, and you shouldn't lock that behind a very grindy reputation, in my opinion. So, lastly, let's talk a little bit about Rep Paladin stuff. We have the release candidate build, of course, already, since they are planning on releasing it here in less than 2 weeks. So we have the release candidate build. There's still been no changes to Retribution Paladin. I haven't bothered going back and testing Magistrate Judgment. I trust the people who have tested Magistrate Judgment, and it seems like that is just going to be kind of like an all-purpose legendary, and apparently Vanguard's Momentum is also an all-purpose legendary. It also does not appear like our tier sets are going to get changed at all or buffed or anything. So our best chance of getting any sort of a buff is, in my opinion, the raid comes out, if Ret is at like the very bottom, we just get an aura modifier, increased damage by 5%, increased damage by 10%, not touching our tier sets at all. Unfortunately, we're kind of just left in the dust when it comes to this. It's very unfortunate because there's a lot of really passionate Retribution Paladin players. Not very much at the high-end rating and stuff, not even in high-end PvP that much, although, they're really good in like arena right now. It's not super well represented in that case, although it has a very high player base in general. A lot of casual players like to play Ret Paladin. A lot of role players like to play Ret Paladin. Stuff like that. But, I just don't see it getting changed. I'm not necessarily sure we'll be at the bottom of the barrel, but we'll probably be pretty close to the bottom when it comes to rankings overall. Best case scenario is we're mid or lower mid. Which is kind of where we're at right now anyways. That's probably the best case scenario. And the worst case scenario is we're down at the very bottom, which is also completely possible. So we'll see how this all shakes out. I say it's completely possible because I don't know what every other class does. It's very possible that every class below us is getting much stronger from the legendary / tier set combo. So it's very much not great news, unfortunately. But it is what it is. This is where we're at. It's going to be not necessarily a fun time period as far as if you do like endgame content to play Retribution Paladin. It hasn't been the best time in general here lately, probably since Legion. It hasn't been the best time to play Retribution Paladin, but it was kind of fun. We had some decent time with Corruption, with the Mastery stacking in 8.2 or in 8.3, I mean, but it is what it is. Not the best. And hopefully, we do scale somewhat this expansion. That was something that they changed when this expansion came out. So maybe we'll get some sort of scaling or something that helps us out as well. That keeps us a little bit more competitive. don't necessarily see that happening. It's much more powerful to cheese the max DPS out of your 4 set that's powerful. Or like in corruption, just stacking haste so you get as many twilight in your dual wielder, so you get as many twilight devastation procs as possible. In this current patch, kind of doing a similar thing, but with the frost shards and getting huge procs with those. Things that we can't really abuse. And, our tier set is just another thing that we can't abuse. Our legendaries we can't abuse. And there's really not much hope for us to keep up with other classes who can abuse stuff, even if we do scale throughout the expansion. So I'm sorry for the little bit of bad news there. I am a little bit sad about it, frankly. But so I'm just keeping it real and telling you what I see. Obviously, when 9.2 comes out, I will have a DPS guide coming out for Retribution Paladin with the updates to it. It looks like as of now, we won't necessarily have to play with Execution Sentence, so I'll tell you how that changes and everything like that, how that changes the playstyle and stuff. The tier set itself changes the playstyle slightly, so I'll get into all that in that video. That's it for this little bit of news roundup. As always, I ask you to please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody have a good one.